be reading chapter 2 in My Father's Dragon. And this chapter is My Father Runs Away. The cat explained that Wild Island is practically cut in two by a very wide and muddy river. That's what the cat said. This river begins at one end of the island and flows into the ocean on the other. Now, the animals there are very lazy, and they used to hate having to go all the way around the beginning of the river to get to the other side of the island. It made visiting very inconvenient and mail deliveries quite slow, particularly during the Christmas rush. Crocodiles could have carried passengers and mail across the river, but crocodiles are very moody and not the least bit dependable, and they are always looking for something to eat. They don't care if the animals have to walk around the river at all. So that's just what the animals did on the island for many years. But, asked my father, what does all of this have to do with airplanes and flying? He thought the cat was taking an awfully long time to explain. Be patient, Elmer, said the cat, and she went on with the story. One day, about 4 months ago, before I arrived on Wild Island, a baby dragon fell from a low flying cloud to the bank of the river. Now, he was too young to fly very well, and besides, he had bruised one wing quite badly, so he couldn't get back to the cloud. The animals found him soon afterwards, and he looked about like this, except with some stripes. Now, when the animals found him, they said, "Oh, why, this is just exactly what we needed all these years." And do you know what they did? They tied a big rope around his neck, and they waited for his wing to get well. This was all going to end their crossing the river troubles. "Oh, I've never seen a dragon," said my father. "Did you get to see him? How big is he?" "Oh, yes, indeed, I saw the dragon," said the cat. "In fact, we became great friends. I used to hide in the bushes and talk to him when nobody was around. He's not a very big dragon. He's about the size of a large black bear, although I imagine he's grown quite a bit since I left. He's got a long tail and yellow and blue stripes. His horn and his eyes and the bottom of his feet are bright red, and he has golden colored wings." "Oh, how wonderful," said my father. "Well, what did the animals do when his wing got well?" "Well, they started training him to carry passengers, animals to ride on his back. And even though he's just a baby dragon, they work him all day and all night. It's way too much. They make him carry loads that are much too heavy, and if he complains, they twist his wings and hurt him. He's always tied to a stake, a big stick with a rope just long enough to go across the river and then back. His only friends are the crocodiles, who say hello to him about once a week if they don't forget. Really, he's the most miserable animal I've ever come across. When I left, I promised him I'd try and find somebody to help him someday, although I couldn't see how. The rope around his neck is about the biggest and toughest rope you can imagine. With so many knots, it would take days to untie them all. Anyway, when you were talking about airplanes, you gave me an idea. Now, I'm quite sure that if you were able to rescue the dragon, which wouldn't be the least bit easy, he'd let you ride on him most anywhere, provided you were nice to him, of course. How about trying it?" "Oh, I'd love to," said my father, and he was so angry at his mother for being rude to the cat that he didn't feel the least bit sad about running away from home for a while. That very afternoon, my father and the cat went down to the docks to see about ships that were going to the island of Tangerina. They found out that one ship would be sailing the next week, so right away they started planning to rescue the dragon. The cat was a great help in suggesting things for my father to take with him, and she told him everything she knew about Wild Island. Of course, she was too old to go along. Now, everything had to be kept very secret, so whatever they found or bought to take on the trip, They hid behind a rock in the park. That night before my father sailed, he borrowed his father's knapsack, and he and the cat packed everything very carefully into the knapsack. He took chewing gum and 24 pink lollipops, a pack of rubber bands, black rubber boots, a compass, a toothbrush, a tube of toothpaste, 6 magnifying glasses, a very sharp jackknife, a comb and a hairbrush, 7 hair ribbons of different colors, an empty grain bag with a label saying cranberry. He also brought some clean clothes and enough food to last my father while he was on the ship. He couldn't live on mice, so he took 25 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and 6 apples, because that's all the apples he could find in the pantry. When everything was packed, my father and the cat went down to the docks to the ship. A night watchman was on duty, so while the cat made loud, queer meowing noises to distract his attention, my father ran down the gangplank to the ship, and he went down in the hold of the ship, and he hid among some bags of wheat. And the ship sailed early the next morning. Now, next we'll read the chapter 3, My Father Finds the Island.